So AI, the whole discussion around the ROI with AI is not a problem that we've been seeing today. I've been in the industry for close to 2 decades, and I think ever since I've started this journey, there is always that question of what is the ROI of AI. Even though over the last 2 years, the way AI has almost taken over our lives, it's completely transformed the way every single person works with technology, be it a 10-year-old or a 50-year-old. At some level, it has transformed our lives altogether and democratized AI. Yet, uh, despite all of these technology advancements, despite billions of dollars, trillions of dollars being spent in AI, we still see that question coming in from enterprises. I was reading a report from McKinsey the other day, and it said 88% of enterprises are actually now using AI in some form or the other. But interestingly, only 1/3 of those have actually seen AI work in production. So that's a huge gap between what we're seeing versus where the value is being realized. And like I said, since it's an old problem, I almost call it as an adage. Um, the problem statements are also very similar. So if you were to break down what what is ROI for AI and how can we solve for it, what I used to maybe talk about a few years back and what I'm going to talk about today are going to be very similar. It all starts off with the value and the definition of the value. There is always this confusion of whether AI should be the spear or AI should be what facilitates the business outcomes. And therefore, if you talk to two different people from the same company, be it from IT or business, they will have two completely different definitions. To give you an example, I was talking to a software company the other day, and they mentioned that most of their developers were now using AI to generate code. And I said, what's the benefit? And he said, well, the benefit is that now they're able to produce more code. And that raised a big question in my head. The value of AI was not in terms of the productivity of the programmers. It was supposed to be the number of features, the number of products, and therefore the impact of revenue due to that influx of better and faster code. How did that impact the top line and the bottom line of the company? That is what should have been the main talking point. Whereas what we were really talking about is how many hours are we saving on developer productivity, which is where, like I said, the question of value has to be addressed first. What are we solving for? What is the end business outcome that we are really trying to go towards? Why is it that AI is necessary for it? Because think about it, when we say AI today, we think about it as generative AI, but generative AI is not the answer to every single problem out there. AI has to be looked at it from a deterministic standpoint and a probabilistic standpoint. And then depending on what you really need, you should actually go ahead and use that kind of AI. It's almost like saying that you can't use an axe to eat food, right? So you don't really need generative AI for everything. There has to be a more holistic strategy. So that's the whole question of value. So one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of POCs not convert to ROI is lack of definition of the value. The second very critical part is stakeholders. When we talk about tech, generally IT raises their hand and says, well, if the accountability and responsibility is mine, and therefore AI should be under my kitty. Unfortunately, with AI, that should not be the case at all. All IT should do is provide a horizontal base in order for business to solve what they're looking to solve for. So therefore, my earnest feedback here is to tell companies to say, have a team sitting under you from a business standpoint, which is purely driving business use cases and driving business value. Because then the accountability is for the business. When the accountability is for and with the business, then they will make sure that they are attributing aspects of business gains to AI. Secondly, there's a huge aspect of trust. If I build something today from an IT standpoint and hand it over to business, business will really not be interested or not trust it the same way if they were to design it, because of two reasons. One is obviously I'm an external party. Second aspect of it is I don't understand the business as well as the business themselves understand the business, right? So therefore, people who understand what they're trying to solve for and then they go about it, solving for it, that's where the real change comes in. So again, in that journey from POC to ROI, accountability has to sit with business. The horizontal base is where the IT team needs to come in. The third very critical aspect of it is the cultural aspect. And we talk about it, interestingly, we don't talk about it much. And now it's only now that there is a lot of talk about how culture needs to start playing a big role. But change management is one of the most critical aspects for the success of any AI initiative today in a company. When I say change management, we're looking at it from multiple facets. One facet is just changing the way people go about doing their work to a completely new way of doing work, right? So that is part one, which is how do you change from what you were to where you want to be. The second aspect of change is providing that trust factor, which I was talking about earlier, right? Why should business trust something which they don't have control over and cannot understand? And think about it this way, while for you and me, as developers, as architects, our job is only to build and give it to them. Their job is actually to take decisions based on what we've given them. And therefore, if a decision goes wrong, chances are that it could impact their jobs, their lives, and even the company at large, right? So therefore, again, from a change management is very critical to understand that the nuance of trust has to come in order for any kind of ROI that can be leveraged from an AI standpoint. The fourth and most critical, and another very important critical pillar that we all love to talk about is technology. Technology has advanced. Today, there is nothing that you can think about that cannot be built. There are one people millionaire companies, it's called one millionaire companies, which are really completely changing the game as far as business operations is concerned. We're also looking at a big change in the way teams are being set up. It's no longer about a people first, but a technology first organization. So all of that again becomes very, very critical to understand in terms of how technology is impacting. Having said that, what we confuse ourselves is with technology is all I need to do is build an agent and everything else is done. Unfortunately, it is not that easy. There is a clear path and a number of steps that go into making an agent successful. So agent again is not the process. Agent is the end goal. For the process, you need to have the right data. You need to have the right platform. You need to have the right orchestration layer. You need to have the right security and governance in place. You also need to have the right knowledge base, which is settled into this entire structure in order for the agent to do what it is doing. And then finally, when the agent does what it is expected to do, is when the people come in and start trusting it. Without this entire foundation, the data to agent foundation, as we call it, it is going to be very, very hard for any company to again realize value from it. So companies who are actually going out there and doing small POCs or trying to just try a few things out here and there, hoping that somebody would like their work and would invest further to take things forward. Unfortunately, that stage is gone. It's an all in or nothing, which is the clear path forward for all the enterprises, right? And when I say all in, it has to be thought about from, like I said, a value perspective, an accountability perspective, a change management perspective, and a technology perspective. Because unless you're actually thinking about all these four aspects, it's very, very hard to cross that bridge. One final thought before I would probably end this session is, whenever you're thinking about AI, don't think about it from a technology first perspective. Think about it from a business backward perspective. Which is the process that you're looking to optimize? What is the workflow that you're looking to optimize? Where is it that the customer experience is going to change, which is going to lead to more dollars coming in, or people shopping more on your platform, or having a much cleaner experience in the way they interact with you? All of that is your starting point. Once you've nailed down what you're really solving for, the rest of the pieces will help you solve for it and give you that 4-pillar approach that I talked about, give you that foundation in order for you to solve it. So go ahead, create value centers, don't create AI centers, and make sure it is all connected to business. Thank you.